The Australians' front page, US forces give nod to closer ties. That's the front page headline on the front of the Oz. Now, of course, the story is from Ben Packham, who's the Foreign Affairs and Defence correspondent. Australia and the US are in talks to deepen their military cooperation with plans for new exercises on Australian soil, including joint training with American Army soldiers. The aim is to strengthen the interoperability of the nation's forces amid growing strategic threats by expanding the frequency and variety of US training missions in Australia. The proposed exercises with the US Army would be modelled on the annual rotation of Marines through Darwin and use a variety of military training areas, including those in Queensland. Now, of course, Kristy, this comes off the back of a very pointed suggestion that China was behind recent cyber hacking in Australia around Microsoft entities. So, the Chinese have been very hairy-chested in recent months when it comes to Australia with trade sanctions. This is good news, I believe.
It's extremely good news, and there is a permeating narrative in some parts of the media in Australia that Prime Minister Morrison is not capable of keeping the United States relationship afloat, that we are at odds with the Biden administration, namely due to issues around climate and energy policy. That is not true. The relationship between Australia and the US under the Biden administration and the PM is as strong as ever, if not more so. Morrison will go to Washington in September for the 70th anniversary of the signing of the ANZUS treaty. And of course, this defence activity that we're seeing the US invest more heavily into Australia will be part of those celebrations. The Indian Prime Minister and the Japanese Prime Minister is also expected to attend. And that is because Australia is playing a very, very crucial role in protecting the allied interests against China in the South China Sea and in the Asian region. As I say, stronger than ever. The narrative is false. The United States is our single highest source of foreign direct investment into Australia, and the Morrison government is not going to put that at risk under any cost.
The Herald Sun splashed Jub Fun Pass, no vaccine, no entry on agenda for sports, music and theatre events. Premier Daniel Andrews has flagged granting greater freedoms, including access to major events to people who are fully COVID vaccinated. Here it comes. Asked whether people would need to prove they were vaccinated or COVID-free to attend big events such as AFL matches, Mr Andrews said an informed discussion should be had when more Australians were jabbed. The vaccine will be here September, October, November. Then I think we can have an informed discussion and say, right, we're at X percent. Here's all the benefits that might flow from that. Now, of course, Alan Joyce, the CEO of Qantas, raised, no vax, no fly as a possibility with Qantas earlier in the year. Created much controversy. There's been debate about whether employers can mandatorily enforce, no vaccination, you don't get a job with us. It's a legal minefield, Kristy, but I think we are getting to that point, aren't we?
It is a legal minefield, and under the industrial relations framework that we currently have, you can't force someone to be vaccinated either at their workplace or as part of their job. So, of course, it needs to be implemented into the industrial relation framework that we have, which is quite frankly a dog's breakfast existingly, trying to work out who's on what award. And it's a disaster for small business to add something on top of that. However, the airlines have been very firm, as you've said, and this is an idea that was also floated by Boris Johnson during the week, saying that, they have about 50% of their population vaccinated, that he doesn't want to get to a stage where people have to show proof of vaccination to enter nightclubs and festivals and so forth, but it might get to that point. Daniel Andrews, of course, wants the major events back in Melbourne, and he wants the crowds to buy the tickets. So he is positioning for himself to do that, and I think this is all a nod to the organisers of the Australian Open.